This video is the red-green exception, and as you can see from the chart, I've got 6 vertical lines, 5 red ones and the green one, which is the exception. And I'm going to just briefly talk about the 5 red ones, and then we'll get into this exception. On the first one on the left, on these 4 over here on the right, the left one, we have let me establish something first. A red peak is we like to see a red peak in 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s. Definitely needs to be above 50, or we want it to be above 50. We like to see 2 things along with that, and that is we like to see a difference from the previous day in that 40 plus range, 40, 50, 60 point spread. And we like to see the zip yellow low, and under 25 is kind of where we want to be. If it's, you can be up into the 30s, that doesn't hurt it typically, but we also obviously like to be in a downtrend. And you can see from our power chart here that the green is under the orange for a significant number of days here, and so we are in a power trend. If I extend this a little bit, you can kind of see that it's definitely tapering down. We're in a modest downtrend. Now the second one that I'm going to identify here is the second one on the left, and that one there has is a red. The zip red is at 91, and however this one came yesterday was only at 65. So this one only went up, what, 26 points? So it can work because you can see all 4 of these vertical lines have a red candle the next day. And so our red peak is a reversal pattern, downtrend reversal pattern. And so when we see this, one of the things that is key to the second one is down here in the swing chart. We have if you notice it, we have a swing pink and swing Zion up touching the swing red wide long-term line, long-term trend line. And that's what we like to see, is the narrow lines up touching or down touching, when we do have one of those, into either 0 or into the one of the wide lines. So even though we had our zip yellow was at 26, and on this one here our zip red was at 91, but the difference was only that 26. It still works for us, and in fact, you can see here the next 3 days, between the second and third day, we had a huge gap there. It closed on that second red candle at 114 and opened on this green candle here at 109 even, 00. And so it gapped over $5, and that's typically, excuse me, let me rephrase that. It's typical to see an up touch or a down touch have a strong movement a few days out, and that's what happened in this case here. The third one is a big green candle. The third one from the left in this foursome here is a big green candle. It started out the day before at 45, and today it's at 98 on that large green candle. And as well, the excuse me, as long as we're at it, we might ask ourselves, why did we get this long green candle? And if you look at, I'm going to spread out the zip chart, and you can see that we've got right here, we've got a 2-day pink-green bottom. The green bottom, whenever you have a green bottom, a pink-green bottom, you always have a key to its turnaround. And in this case right down here, the key is right here in the swing chart. You've heard me tell you previously that the swing pink is probably the fastest moving line in all 4 charts. It's also a divergent recognition line, indicator line. And it is in a high right leg W. We also have the high right leg W's in the zip yellow and zip blue, but they are not as important as this pink is, this swing pink is in its high right leg W effect, because that's where your power indication is for your long green candle this next day. Because what happens is your swing gray, your swing cyan, your swing yellow, and your swing pink all go up on the same day. And normally that never happens. Usually the pink goes up first, and then the yellow, and then and or the cyan. The gray is the last one to go up. But this power right leg W effect, because the pink went up and then it went down, and now we were in a higher right leg W. That's what caused this large green candle. At least from our indicator perspective, this is what we can visually see. The 4th red one has again, this one has a zip red at 81 and a zip yellow at 53. So this one is really high in, relatively speaking, in terms of how we look at red peaks. It's in that realm of, boy, is this going to be good, or is it going to go the other way? But one of the excuse me, one of the keys is in the power chart. Whenever we have, to expand it here a little bit, I'll show you. I do have maps on the back side of this, I do have charts on the back side of this chart. There are 2 charts on each of the 2 back charts, and the power, and it'll show it a little bit better, but the power blue and power pink are deep cycle indicators. And just like the swing gray, the power blue and power pink, when they are up, or when they are highest or lowest, they when they reverse, they usually cause strong down movements or up movements, depending on which direction you're in. But in any case, they're a deep cycle indicator. And the power Zion has started down, and the power blue has just went to the highest, and pink and blue are both highest right now. And so there's from that perspective, we can see that the next movement is going to be down, especially since we're in a downtrend, because our wide line indicators tell us we're in a downtrend. We've got 7 wide lines: the power green and orange, the swing red and green, and the trend trio. That's the yellow, pink, and blue. I'm going to switch over to these 2 charts right here, and we basically have the the same green and red lines that were on the previous chart, except I've expanded the charts, and on the right here we have the zip chart up above and below the power chart. The left chart in the middle is the trend chart, and under that is the swing chart. And as you can see, the other vertical red line is has a similar situation in that the zip red is at 73. The day before it was at 8, so it's up, you know, 60 some points, 65, 6 points, because it's 8.9, so it's almost 9. And then of course our zip yellow is at 11 and our zip blue is at 10. So again, this qualifies for a red peak, and we can see you know, no indication otherwise that would tell us anything different, with one exception. We do have the trend red has crossed over the trend green, which is an indication for the start of an uptrend. However, at this vertical red line we have the trend trio, yellow, pink, and blue, all going in a downtrend. And so there's very little indication that this move would be anything except down as well, because our power green is under our orange again. So these 7 wide lines are very critical in determining the trend direction. Now I want to comment on the exception, because this has, let me first of all give you the statistics on it. The zip red is at 67 and the zip yellow is at 18, the zip blue is at 18. It by definition is a red peak, but look at what happens. It goes up several more days after today rather than going down. So what's the logic? Why does this happen? And you'll see in a few minutes that after I point out a number of things, that this really is not an exception. This is a classic observation of what you should be looking at when you're looking at different things, because if you don't look at the evidence, you're not going to see which way these candles are moving. All right. Now, the first thing that I want us to look at is down here in the power chart. If I expand this up high enough, you're going to see at the green vertical line that the power green is in a low angle down. And we know from low angle downs that there's the highest probability that they have is to go up the next day, which this one does. That's the first indication that, and that's a very big indication, because now we know that the green, long-term green line is going in the other direction. If you go over here to the trend chart, you can see the green line is, or excuse me, yeah, the green vertical line is on the first day of the yellow, pink, and blue turning up. So they are going in, they have verified an uptrend. And the uptrend started earlier than that, when the trend red started, but we've got some significant divergence in here that basically, in my opinion, has caused this, looks like an 8 to 9 day uptrend, because when the trend red is above the trend green, you're in an uptrend, right? Just like we've talked before in previous videos. Right over here on this side, when the trend red is under the green, boom, you've got, 6, 8 candles going down. But in these 3 red candles between the green vertical line and the red vertical line, we've got some significant divergence that has occurred in our trend red and trend green. Now, if you go down here to the swing chart, you'll see that on the vertical green line, the swing blue has crossed over the swing green line. And if you go to your indicator definitions and you see on the swing blue line, you'll see that I've marked out 4 indications when the swing blue crosses under the red and under the green, and when it crosses over the green and over the red. And although the swing blue is often a weak indicator of an uptrend, in this case it's a very strong one, because it immediately turns up and goes up very strong. The other thing that is just extremely critical, and that is your swing gray. Your swing gray is a deep cycle indicator, and the swing gray has turned up. And you'll notice, let me point out one thing here to you on this other chart. Here's an example of, see how high this swing gray is? It's a deep cycle indicator, and you'll get these deep cycles up and down in your stock movements, candle movements. And when it turns around, then you identify with that long downtrend, or in this case here, with the long uptrend, as you can see in the candles up here. But going back to these other 2 charts, we've got this. You can see the swing gray is coming through here, and it's going back and forth about every 6 to 10, 12 days, whatever. Well, it has, on the vertical green line, it has turned up, and it is basically it has turned up into the uptrend. Excuse me, that was a mouthful. And so now, what do we got? We have a qualified red peak that has these 3 trend, pink, yellow, and blue, going up. The power green has a low angle down, which means there's a high probability that tomorrow it'll be going up. And so we got 4 lines out of 7 major trend lines that are telling us that we're going into an uptrend. And so you definitely do not want to buy, or do not want to short this particular stock. The other thing here too is that I forgot to point out, on this vertical line, zip pink is at 70 and zip red was at 67. So we actually have 2 indications. We have the highest pink and we have the red peak setups that tell us we're going down tomorrow. But those 2 setups are not strong enough when we start talking about major trend line directional changes. And this is the first day that the trend chart has changed, the trend trio, yellow, pink, blue, and we know that those are faster than the power orange and green or the swing red and green. And so it's definitely not something that we want to get involved with in the way of an uptrend, in the way of a downtrend, because our alert signal was the red peak. The other thing is And you'll notice down here in the power chart, whenever you have the power blue and pink either highest or lowest, you have reached a top of cycle or a bottom of cycle, because they will always come out on top if they're pushing out the top or pushing out the bottom. And so on our vertical green line, we have the pink as the lowest line, and we're coming out of a W pattern that's several days before here, and that's part of that divergence, I'm sure, as well. But we're coming out of that W pattern with the power blue and pink lowest, which means they're going to swing and turn around and go up. And on this green vertical line day, we don't know that it's going to go up 8 days, or 10 days or whatever it is. But we do know that we can see that the pink and the blue are lowest, and that means they're going to push out the top. I mean, that means that because they're lowest, they're going to push their way through, and it should be a strong uptrend. Now, it may not continue, but just in a few days, they break through, and they're heading their highest now. So, I mean, their highest right here. 2 days later, power blue is now the highest line in the power chart. And so we know we're going into, definitely going into an uptrend. Now, the other thing is that I want to point out over on the trend chart is that the trend red has crossed over the zero. And for most of you, that does not mean much. But I've created another chart here, and I want to point this out because the trend red, the power red, and the zip red were color-coded that way because they do some things that associated with position cycles. And I'm going to flip to that chart here now. What I've done here ahead of time is these 4 arrows that you see up here are the indications of the 4 vertical lines that we had earlier. And then over here we have the red and green exception vertical lines. They're in those arrow balls as markers. And so now what I did is I've got the zip chart on top, the power chart in the middle, and the trend chart at the bottom, but I eliminated everything except the 3 red lines. So I've got zip red, power red, and trend red on the charts. The green vertical line is the first day that the red lines went over the 0 line. Or in the case of the zip, it goes over the 50, but the power and the trend are the 0 lines. Now, that's what happens in the vast majority of the cases, except a couple cases over here I want to point out. And that is 2 out of the 3 lines were over the middle line, and that being either the 0 or the 50. And so on the green, on the exception day that we've been talking about, we have the zip red that's above the 0. We have the trend red that is above the 0, because that's what I was identifying with earlier. I said, hey, the trend red is above 0. And then, but we have the power red that is not above 0 yet. And so 2 out of the 3 above 0. Your pink lines are the first day that the lines have crossed below the 0 line or below the 50. With these 2 exceptions, there's 2 out of 3 are under 0, 2 out of 3 are above 0. But let me draw in one other thing that I want to show you, because this this might show it a lot better, and that is this right here. I've now highlighted the power chart. This is the power red line specifically. And you can see when the power red line is above 0, look at those candles, you're in an uptrend. When the power red line, like over here, is under 0, you are in a downtrend. And like here, we went up for one day and then we were back down under 0. Over here, we went down for one day and boom, we were back up into an uptrend. The next several, looks like a dozen more days. Over here, we're down, 6 or 8 days in a downtrend. Over in this area right here, it was pretty jumpy. I would have had lines every 2-3 days, so I didn't even bother drawing those in. But I wanted to show you because in the trend chart, they're also above 0 on the days that the power chart are above 0. The zip red is basically above 0, but remember the zip red has not only the position cycle attributes, but it has volatility attributes built into it, which basically means that it goes up and down a lot quicker than other lines would. So it appears to be, not as logically above the 0 line, or in this case above the 50 line, as the power red and the trend red. And it seems to be more jumpy, which it is. But this is what I wanted to point out to you, because you can follow these basic, the power chart. The power red is the best one to look at for a positional cycle indicator. Its position above or under 0 tells you basically your general direction. Are you in an uptrend or are you in a downtrend? So it becomes pretty, there's so many aspects of verifying which direction things are which direction things are going with the indicators in this system. It's just a matter of learning how they work and what issues you need to clarify in your mind. Make copies of the stuff that you find in the documents file and read many of those things over. Become familiar with your indicator definitions and how your setups work, and just a variety of things. Because remember, when you have, for example, let me go back to this one right here. This was the first chart that we brought up. This pink, you've got the zip green bottom at 0 for 2 days, and the zip pink comes in there, and that's why they're called pink-green bottoms. But every single time there is always a key to these things leaving, or in other words, reversing. And obviously, when your zip green is your new trades coming into the market, and so when your zip green is at 0, you've got a lot of people leaving the market, and so at some point they're going to come back into this, but right now they've been leaving the market. But in every case, there's a key indication that tells you what these things are going to be doing. And just like over in here, on this day here at the end of this green flat bottom, the green stayed down on that green candle, but all of the rest of them, the blue, yellow, pink, red, not the yellow, excuse me, the blue, the pink, and the red and the gray all went up. And so, but one of the things you may not be aware of, if you haven't seen it on a previous video, when the yellow and the blue line always like to travel together, and when they're far apart, the blue normally comes back to the yellow. I mean, the vast majority of time, the blue will come back to the yellow. In this case here, the yellow came down a little and the blue came up a little, so it's a obvious scenario. But the point I'm trying to make is that your blue line, let me look at it, it's at 2.00. The thing I'm trying to tell you is that it can't go much lower, so at some point it's going to go up, and it very seldom is the lowest, and when it is, it almost always goes up. And when I say lowest, I mean with the exception of the green. Sometimes you'll see the blue line is lowest and there's no green line under it. And then of course on this day you had a hammer for a candle, which is an obvious bottom in the bottom of a cycle. So just a tremendous amount of visible information available that will identify what you first might think to be an exception, and it's just not there.